Out on the scorched plains, a buffalo limps slowly, its massive frame casting a long shadow under the relentless sun. But something grotesque mars this creature's strength. A honeycomb wound, a hellish quilt of open sores and raised ridges, each cavity a tiny hell inhabited by thrumming, wriggling parasites. This living tapestry of decay pulses with the creature's ragged breath, a stark monument to nature's raw brutality and the unforgiving struggle for survival. The honeycomb wound is not merely a surface injury. It is a festering landscape sculpted by parasitic invaders. These parasites oftentimes fly larvae, feast, and breed beneath the layered skin, carving caverns in the buffalo's flesh. The wound oozes a thick, sour-smelling discharge, a blend of blood, pus, and the decomposing flesh slowly consumed by these unwelcome tenants. Every cavity busies itself with thousands of microscopic birthings and deaths, a ceaseless churn of life, feeding on life in the most visceral way. To the untrained eye, it may appear as a natural wound, but up close, it is a horrid theater of in the frozen wastes of the Arctic, where survival is a brutal contest. A polar bear emerges, a titan of ice and endurance. Yet this majestic creature bears a grotesque testament to the harsh realities of its existence. A honeycomb wound on its flank, a lesion as raw and ravaged as the frozen landscape itself. This wound, an unsettling lattice of exposed flesh and ragged scars, pulses with a sickness that seems almost otherworldly, an open gateway inviting decay. It is a stark reminder that even the mightiest are not immune to the merciless forces of infection and infestation. But this is only the beginning of a darker story. Embedded deeply within the bear's fur, especially around the wound, clusters of barnacles cling like sinister beads of barnacle doom. These tiny crustaceans, more often found affixed to ship hulls or rocky seashores, have found in the blistering expanse of the desert, where life cloyingly persists amid the relentless sun and shifting sands. There stands a camel whose very existence tells a grim tale. This particular creature bears on its flank a grotesque honeycomb wound, a festering lattice of infected sores and swollen abscesses that shimmer with the moist glint of decay. Peering closer, the cavity reveals a writhing tapestry of parasites, as if the camel's flesh had become a perverse haven, a breeding ground for nature's most relentless scavengers. The honeycomb pattern is not merely a random affliction, but the result of countless. In the stark white glare of the African sun, a majestic lion stands out, not just for its rare albino coat, but for the gruesome spectacle that mars its noble frame. This is no tale of glory, but one of nature's merciless reality. A white lion crippled by an insect infestation so severe it challenges the boundary between survival and decay. Beneath the striking beauty of its pale fur lies a horrifying battleground, where tiny legions of parasitic insects wage war against the weakened flesh of a once proud beast. The lion's wound, festering and oozing, is a grotesque canvas painted with the dark strokes of nature's less glamorous side, a vivid, unsettling testament to the harshness of the wild. Insect infestation on such a grand predator may seem like a cruel twist of fate, but it's a natural, if harrowing, occurrence. Flies, attracted by the scent of blood and decay, swarm relentlessly, laying their eggs along the torn skin. Maggots hatch in this grim nursery, feasting on the dead tissue, and the cycle spirals down into a pit of infection and torment. These ceaseless parasitic invaders thrive on open wounds, turning what would otherwise be a simple injury into a festering mass of grotesque life. The lion's immune system, weakened by the constant irritation and systemic infection, struggles to repel the swarm, leaving the creature increasingly vulnerable to predators, starvation, and death. Each fly that lands, each maggot that burrows deeper, adds to the lion's misery. The insect's life cycle, while an essential component of the ecosystem as decomposes becomes a nightmarish trap here, turning the lion into both host and battlefield. The inflamed, swollen skin cracks and bleeds, disturbed by the endless burrowing and gnawing of tiny jaws. Bacteria flood the wound, creating a smelly, pus-filled cavity that pulses with each painful breath the lion takes. This is no romantic survival story. It's a raw, gut-wrenching example of how life, in all its forms, can be both in the tangled depths of the jungle, beneath the veneer of lush green and chirping birds, lies a grotesque spectacle that few dare to witness. Imagine this: a monkey, once sprightly and curious, now skulking in the shadows, its fur matted and slick with grime, its skin riddled with festering wounds that seem to throb with a sinister life of their own. This is no ordinary injury, but a dark tapestry of neglect and parasitic infestation, a chilling testament to nature's raw and unforgiving cycle. At first glance, one might recoil, swaddled in an ooze that glistens unwholesomely, swarming with countless insects, a nightmarish scene that seems torn from a macabre daydream rather than reality. What you are seeing is insect infestation in its most primal and revolting form. The monkey's body has become a battleground, a breeding ground, and a banquet for a swarm of ravenous arthropods. The most conspicuous offenders are botflies, whose maggots have burrowed under the skin, creating grotesque lumps of inflamed tissue, each pulsating as if alive with their own heartbeat. These larvae feed on the host's flesh, carving out tunnels and leaving behind trails of necrotic decay. Alongside them crawl gnats and tiny flies, their sharp, needle-like mouthparts plunging repeatedly into the tissue to extract blood, irritating the skin into a vicious cycle of itching and scratching that only worsens the wounds. Aphids, mites, and sometimes even ticks converge on the monkey's weakened immune defenses, each exploiting the host's misery in their own insatiable quest for survival. The sight is as repulsive in the raw and unforgiving wilds. Hidden beneath the dappled shadows of an ancient forest lies a tale of horror and survival etched into the flesh of a mighty beast. This leopard, once a symbol of grace and lethal elegance, now bears the gruesome scars of an unholy invasion, a monstrous snake wound festering across its sinewy body, a grotesque tapestry of infection and decay. This ghastly sight arrests the eye immediately. Raw flesh torn apart, veins swollen with venomous rot, clustered with slithering parasites that writhe in festering maelstroms. It's a living nightmare, a brutal testament to nature's dark side, where predator and parasite entwine in a macabre dance of survival and suffering. The wound itself is a banquet for a horrific procession of serpentine invaders. It begins with a violent strike, a snake's fangs boring deeply, injecting venom that does not merely kill, but mutates the leopard's own tissues into a rancid playground for smaller serpents. These snakes, no longer merely enemies of the leopard but grotesque symbionts, colonize the gaping wound with cold, wet movements that ooze slimy discomfort. As the venom seeps into the flesh, it breaks down cellular structure, turning muscle into mush and skin into an uneven canvas where millions of tiny scales creep like living stitches, perpetually tearing the leopard from within. The scent is a chilling blend of earth, decay, and something far more sinister: the unmistakable metallic tang of blood mixed with the coppery stench of rot. Within this hellscape of flesh and fangs, the infestation escalates. Dead tissue becomes a perverse hive for the snake's offspring, whose neonate forms slither freely through the open wound, feeding on necrotic debris and even attacking healthy tissues to expand their grim nursery. The leopard, locked in agonizing limbo between life and death, is trapped in a parasitic nightmare. Its every breath is a shallow hiss, its eyes pools of dark desperation. This wound is more than an injury. It's a living ecosystem of predation operating on a microscopic level, where traditional roles of life and death, predator and prey, collapse into an indistinguishable horror. The snakes don't just kill the leopard, they inhabit it, consume it, transform it from within. This snake infestation is not a rare fluke, but a disturbing ecological phenomenon, a natural plague driven by whispered evolutionary alliances within the tangled food webs of the jungle. Snakes, evolving as apex predators, and parasites simultaneously